As a lot of you know on my YouTube channel, I love horror games, and one of those franchises that I've wanted to see make a continuation, but all of a sudden just kind of disappeared without really any explanation as to what happened to this franchise was Condemned. A franchise, guys, a first-person horror video game that I thought was terrifying at moments, and of course the first game, Criminal Origins, was pretty terrifying, and then the second one was kind of a downgrade, but I want to talk about what happened to this franchise. So let's get into it. So in an article, guys, that was written by Ethan Butterfield of Game Grin. Now, as I'm sure everyone out there can relate, the announcement of Middle-earth: Shadow of War has got me more excited than if they announced Haze 2 at any point in the future, ever. However, the announcement from Monolith Studios leaves a bit of weird question left to be answered. One that sure may not be on everyone's minds, but left me pondering nonetheless. With the recent success of the new Lord of the Rings-based franchise, where does that leave Monolith's previous success, Condemned? For those who aren't sure, Condemned was a 2-game series that was based around detective work, suspenseful storytelling, and real atmospheric horror. You, the player, took control of the investigator Ethan Thomas as you searched for the truth in an ever-darkening world filled with the good, the bad, and the downright insane. When ranging the two titles on levels of quality, it can be said that Condemned Criminal Origins was more or less the better of the two. Not to take anything away from Condemned 2 Bloodshot, though, which is still a strong entry as far as video games go. And when discussing Condemned 2 Bloodshot, however, the results were tweaked a bit. More supernatural elements began entering the fray, and some not for the better. Fans of the series still enjoyed the gameplay and praised the advanced detective system that were prominent features throughout, but the horror and overall sense of mystery that really brought the first title to life were more or less deflated after those events were outright explained to them. Still, the game itself did very well and was another success for Monolith Studios, so much that the studio even thought of making a film adaptation to capitalize on things. So look, both games, guys, actually, sold relatively well, but Condemned 2 did not sell as well as the first one, and so I think that's part of maybe what actually happened in the franchise, because when you look at these two games, you would think that, oh, they're just going to continue making these. This could become like a Silent Hill or something along those lines. Maybe even a Resident Evil, just kind of a different type of detective-based game. A lot of this also came down to multiplayer, I think, was another thing that came into Condemned 2 that the developers seem to somewhat regret. Because if we go over to Condemned Criminal Origins, that Wikipedia page, it came out, guys, in 2005. It came out on the Xbox 360, and Microsoft Windows was a version later released in 2006. Now, this was a game, guys, that did pretty well. It really did. It got, a decent amount of praise and such for of course, just it had some good reviews based on like the detective nature of this game and the action and such, as well as the scares within the game. Now, there was the sequel that was Condemned 2 Bloodshot, guys, which came out later on. And when this game did finally release over in 2008 on the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, it actually, you would think, would have done a lot better. But when you look at the rumors about a sequel that had circulated since Condemned 2's release, however, it had been doubtful that a Condemned 3 would ever occur. One of the Condemned series previous developers stated in an interview with video game website NeoGAF, sadly, it will never happen. Condemned 2 just didn't sell enough copies. It is sad that Condemned 2 got caught up in the everything needs multiplayer. We could have really used the staff on multiplayer to make the single-player campaign amazing. There was some good ideas of where to take the game. I've always wanted to do a reboot and just play Condemned 2 off as a bad hangover and have Thomas closer to what he was in Condemned Criminal Origins. Monolith co-founder and former CEO Jace Hall currently holds the rights to the Condemned series, and on January 31st, 2015, he expressed his interest on Facebook to find the right indie developer team to take over the franchise and move it forward. So look, guys, not all is doom and gloom for this franchise. What happened was, it seems that it didn't sell enough copies, right? as far as the second Condemned is concerned. Now, I don't like the excuse that everything needs multiplayer. Well, look, multiplayer, having more ways that you can connect with the franchise is going to bring people back to the game. So I think them doing a multiplayer was the right thing to do, but maybe they should have waited longer before releasing it, make sure that the story's where they wanted it to be, because he's saying that we could have really used the staff on multiplayer to make the single-player campaign amazing. Well, why didn't you just take the team that you had on campaign and just wait until it was fully ready and you thought it was really good? Same thing with the multiplayer. A lot of games, I feel like they rush the games out too quickly, and that might have been a case of Condemned 2. But having multiplayer, having co-op modes, having a campaign is the best way. Having a full package deal that you can sell for $60 to just consumers is the way to go, because it brings people back to the franchise. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comment section below. But ultimately, guys, what happened to this franchise, I believe, was Condemned Criminal Origins was very good. It was a very new kind of idea, similar, to games like Silent Hill or, even Resident Evil. And then, of course, you had the second one, which was a downgrade on multiple fronts, but it also just didn't sell enough copies. Would you guys want to see a revival of this franchise? Because obviously Jace Hall over at Monolith is kind of open to the idea of having another indie developer take over the franchise. Let me know what you guys would like to see in a Condemned 3, should that ever come out, in the comment section below. And for more Condemned content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.